and welcome to episode 9. I can't believe it's episode 9. What? Anyway, getting there. My name is Kathy. I am a disabled maker. I had a car accident in 2007 and as a result of that I'm an incomplete quadriplegic. But that's okay, I still get all my crafty goodness in. And that's what this podcast is about. Anything and everything crafty, knitting, painting, sewing, whatever happens to take my fancy. So let's have a look and see what's going on this week. Well, first of all, if you've been watching my podcast for a while, you saw this in the making. And this is the Fay Sweater by September Knits. And yeah, it's really comfy, really cozy because it's got the mohair striped in it, and I really like the colour. It's kind of neutral, goes with a lot of things. It fits me quite well, unlike a couple of other things that I've made. I'll be honest, I was going to wear my Lovebirds sweater that I made a couple of weeks ago, and I knit it too big. I don't know how that happened, and I tried it on this morning, and even though I've shrunk it in the dryer, I just didn't feel comfortable in it. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that. I reckon I'm about an Australian size 14, and even after shrinking it, I think it's about an Australian size 18. So yeah, not sure. If anybody's a size 18 and they are interested in it, I would really only charge you for the cost of the wool. So if you're interested in it, let me know. Maybe I'll show it on the next podcast to refresh your memory, but if you want to see what it looks like, go back and have a look at a couple of episodes. But I don't see myself wearing it. I feel it's just a bit too big. Anyway, tragic. It happens, it happens. But, alright, so let's get on with, let's get straight into this. Mill is not joining us again this week, and that's alright. She felt a little bit stressed, but at the end of the day, as I said to her, this is supposed to be fun, not stressful. And if she's got too much going on, that's just how it is. But she assures me she will be with us next week. So next episode in a fortnight. So we'll look forward to that. Alright, so finished objects. I've got 4 finished objects for you today. And the first one was the one that I was working on last episode. And that is a little jumper for Ralph, my dog. And he has been wearing this. I actually took it off him last night and just gave it a little bit of a steam block so it would look nice for you guys. But this is knit out of the Yarn Collective Bloomsbury DK in the colour Oz. And you can see the little holes there where his little feet go through. So he looks really dapper in it, and I'll put a little picture of him here wearing it. He's been going for a walk every night with his big brother, Rusty, and wearing his little jumper because it has cooled down here a bit. Now, one of my viewers on the last episode, and that was Janine, she said she'd knit quite a few of these, and her recommendation was that I knit an extra inch on the body, which I did, and she suggested just doing a normal ribbed band on the cast off to prevent it curling up. So I also did that. So this is just a knit one purl one band, and even I did the tubular bind off on it, and it sits nice and flush on his body. It doesn't curl up, and he looks really cozy in it. And I've also put one of my little handmade tabs on it. So I love the colour of that, and I don't know whether green's my colour, but I reckon I could knit a jumper in that. I like it. I think the wool knits up really nicely and gives great stitch definition. So I'm really happy with that, and I could see myself knitting another one of those for him. Now, the next thing I've got here, and I didn't even start these on the last episode, but they're all finished now, and that is I've knit 3 of Knitty Natty's yarn cozies. These are all my yarns. There is some of this one in the shop, but not these two. I have sold out of that one at the moment. These are all knit out of minis, 20 gram minis, and I had plenty left over. Well, when I say plenty, I had a bit left over from each one. This one I knit the neck on it a little bit too long, and so it's got a little bit of a pucker, but it'll still serve the purpose. It didn't say on the pattern to whether to finish up the whole, so I've left one as it was. So that's what it looks like when it's finished on the bottom. And on the other two, I just caught the thread to close the bottom over, which I think I'll do that on the red one as well. These are just the knit purl, and this one I did the little faux cable on it, and you can see that just running up and down there. It's a nice little extra, and I think I'll get a lot of use out of these, and they were quick and easy and fun to knit. Satisfying, very satisfying. So yeah, Knitty Natty's got that, and she's also just finished designing a yarn cozy for a 20 gram mini, if you are interested in that as well. So that's a pretty good pattern. Now, the other thing that I was working on this week, and I've got to tell you, the last 2 weeks I've been so busy. I was trying to bring my stock back up in the shop, because thanks to everybody who's made purchases in my shop, I really appreciate it. I still get a thrill every time somebody buys something. I can't quite believe it. But I thought, oh, I better get on to restocking some of the bits and pieces in the shop. So 2 days out of the last fortnight, I've been going mad making progress keepers and stitch markers. And then I spent 3 days dyeing yarn for a store update on Saturday. And I have to tell you that I would say 80% of that sold. So thank you again. And I've got quite a few sewing custom orders. And when I say a few, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 custom orders. So yesterday I literally spent the whole day cutting out patterns, which is not my favourite. Not my favourite at all. I'd like it if somebody came in and cut them all out and then dumped them in a pile next to me and I could just sew them all together. That would be ideal, but that's not how it works. But I did cut all the patterns out yesterday, so I'll be sewing them over the weekend. And the other little problem I had was one of my lovely customers bought some of my hand-painted cards that were in the shop. And we've been chatting about it for about a month and they haven't turned up. So there was 9 cards that she'd ordered that were all hand-painted. And of course Australia Post have got no idea what's going on. So yesterday I spent the day repainting those cards, so I'm hoping to get them out to her. So I have been pretty busy with other things other than my normal projects. Plus personally we've got a few things going on which I'll tell you about at the end of the podcast. Nothing exciting, just day-to-day stuff. But I did find the time to make this sweet little thing. And this is a little needle book, and I bought the pattern off Arabesque Scissors on Etsy. And here it is. It's, I would say, 50% of it is hand sewn and 50% of it is machine sewn. So that's the front and that's the back of it. And I've put a little handmade bit on the back there. And then when you open it up, it's got I've got some pins, some needles, and on the top section there I've got a couple of stitch markers and a needle, and I'm going to keep this in my sewing or my notions pouch in my cross stitch thing at the moment. And probably if I spent less time making accessories for my cross stitch and actually worked on my cross stitch, I might have had that thing finished by now. But I'm like, oh, this will go nicely in my cross stitch with the little fox on the front there. But the funniest thing was I cut all the pieces out for this, was all excited and started putting it together, and they didn't go together, like it didn't fit. And I read the pattern. It was sort of late in the evening, and I thought maybe I was just having a bit of a brain fart, not getting it, you know. And I read the pattern, then I showed my husband, and he's like, no, you've got it right. But the pieces didn't go together very well. So I contacted the lady on Etsy and said to her, am I missing something here? I've cut these pieces out. It's not working. She sent me a message back. Poor thing, she said she was so embarrassed that the pattern was actually wrong and that she'd been selling it for a year, and I was the first person that ever contacted her to say that something was amiss. But she offered me a free pattern, which I declined because I'd already bought a few of her patterns, and I was just happy to work out how to get this together. So there was that. But I think it's important to let a designer know that if you find a fault in their pattern, because that's how they improve their patterns. Like, it's not criticizing, it's constructive criticism. And she was very grateful that I'd let her know that, you know, she'd been selling this pattern for a year. So it's all sorted now, and she's sorted her pattern out, and I've got my little notebook, so I'm happy with that. But how adorable. Yeah, I was really happy with that when I was finished that one. So that's that done. So that's 3. Now the last thing is my watercolour, which you've seen if you follow me on Etsy. And there it is. Don't know if it's... There we go. Maybe if I angle it a bit more like that, you can cop an eye full of that one. Yep. And I like painting flowers. I like the more freestyle aspect of it, that you're not sort of regimented. And if you look closely at that, it's really just blobs of paint. And the way it catches your eye, it makes your imagination realise that it's flowers. But I will tell you that I'm heading towards 300 subscribers, and this is going to be the giveaway at 300 subscribers. And what will be going with it is this little skein of yarn that I've dyed up to match it. So it's not real, it's got a bit more of a yellowy hue to it than is actually showing up in the camera there. But I thought that went with it nicely. And the other thing I've got is one of my little handmade stitch markers. Let's see if I can get that for you in camera. That is hand painted. Let me see. There we go, that's better. Hand painted, and I've got written on the back, hand painted by Kathy. So that's a little stitch marker. So that will be the 300 subscriber giveaway. Those 3 items. And I will discuss the details of that when we hit 300, which might be next episode. We'll see. Getting close. So that'll be there for the taking for somebody. And that's all my finished objects this week. As I said, I've been pretty busy with a few other bits and pieces, and that's okay. I quite enjoy all of it, so it's just a different aspect of it. But that's all the things that I've finished. And now moving on to what I've currently got on my needles. Now, the first thing that I've been working on is Mill's Ursa jumper by Jacqueline Cieslak, and I'm making good progress on that. It looks really pretty. The colour is lovely, and I've started the feature piece that they have at the front, and it's also on the back, so that little ribbing section. I think the colour of the yarn marled together looks great. So that is the Baroque Remix in Strawberry and Cascade 220 in black. It is. And this is a really easy knit. The only thing I will say, it is quick to knit because you're knitting the needles I'm using. I went up a size, so I'm on size 7 needles, I think. Just let me check that. Yes, 7 needles, and it's a chunky yarn, which does mean it's a quicker knit, but it's very hard to knit quickly with big needles and thick yarn. But it's coming along nicely, and I think that I will well and truly have the body finished by the time I see you next, and if not, maybe the sleeves as well, or at least one of them. We'll see. But she'll be pretty keen to get that. So I know Mill will watch this, so I'm working on it, Mill. It's coming. So that's that. That's what I'm working on. And the other thing, I've been doing a little bit on my northeasterly, but not a lot. But I am gearing up to be involved in a cowl that the Needles at the Ready guys have got going. They started it on the 1st, so I'm casting this on this afternoon when I finish my podcast. And I am planning on joining that cowl, and the cowl is called, let me make sure I get this right, it's called Let's Hear It for the Boys, and it's all about knitting something that has got a male theme. So a male designer, an item for a male yarn dyer, if you've used yarn that's been dyed by a male. So it's all about promoting men in the knitting world, which I'm all about. It's funny though, because when I first started knitting years and years ago, we had a little haberdashery, which they don't even have them anymore, just up the street from us, and I used to go in there with my grandma or my mum and look at the wool, and the person that ran that shop and sat there knitting all day was a man. So I never thought anything of it at the time. But I think these days not as common for men to knit, although becoming more common. So I am planning on casting on a shawl, and the shawl is by Josh Ryks, R-Y-K-S, Ryks, and the shawl is called the Typhoon. So I'll put a picture of that here so you can see what it's going to be looking like. And I've already got my yarn in the yarn cozies that I've knit. And this is my yarn, this is one that I dyed up a while ago, and it's just like a really soft speckly grey colour. And the other ball that you use for this shawl is the self-striping. So I've got this self-striping yarn, which is by Tiny Human Knits. Look how lovely, neat and tidy that ball of yarn looks. Anyway, it'll be gone soon. It'll be knit up. It won't matter what it looks like. So I'm planning on using those together. And the shawl actually has plain knitting of the grey, and then you knit this section each section in the stripes, and that of course being a self-striping, it comes out self-striping. So I'm looking forward to casting that on, and I recommend you all get on board with that cal as well. If you've got something already on your needles that fits that category, there's prizes to be won, so join in. So that's going to be my other knit that I am going to be casting on this week, and I will be hopefully making some good progress on that by the time I see you in a fortnight. Okay, the other thing that I was going to say is with regard to the watercolour, I had quite a few people that were extremely inspired by the little watercolour demonstration that I did at the end of the video last week. I'm not going to do it this week, but next episode I'm going to prepare a short video, and one of the subscribers, Michelle, hi Michelle, she said that she'd had trouble getting watercolour. I mean, if you're just trying it out, you don't want to spend a lot of money on the watercolour. You want to just invest, you know, maybe $15 or something. Anyway, after a little bit of a discussion with Michelle about it, I suggested that she try watercolour pencils, and she managed to get some, so I hope you're having lots of fun with that, Michelle. But I thought next episode what I might do is another picture out of my watercolour with me in the forest, and instead of using the techniques that they recommend in the book, I'm going to use my watercolour pencils and give you a little demo on how to use that. So stay tuned for that on the next episode. Now, let's have a look here. I just want to have a look at my notes. I didn't show you my book last week, but of course every week I do, let's see if I can grab a hold of this, I do my episode book. And that's it for this week. So I'm just going to have a quick look and make sure I've told you everything. Yes, the needle's at the ready. The cal hashtag for the Let's Hear It for the Boys is hashtag capital NATR lowercase boys 2020. All right, so that's, I'm doing well there. I'm covering everything, so good. The other thing that I've got up and coming is the lovely Lindsay from Stitch Create Love, and I have been talking about doing a knit along, just a very informal knit along, and she would like to knit the Zweig, and so would I. So we are having a little bit of a chitty chat about that, and we are aiming to cast on the 1st of August. So I've been having a think about what yarn I would use, having a look in my stash. I have bought yarn this year, but I think I'm doing pretty good missioning through using up some of my yarn that I've got in my stash. So, oh, we've got a visitor. Have you come to visit us? Have you? Do you want to come up here and say hello? Come on. Come on. Hey, Rusty. Up, up. Here we go. Rusty. Rustolium. Oh, you're such a good boy. Come for a little visit. Hey? Good boy. Hop down. Good boy. So, back to schedule. Yeah, so I was looking through my stash and I'm trying to decide, and I did have some yarn all picked out a long time ago. So I had 3 skeins with a different colour for the contrast for the lace. But then I was looking through all the patterns on Ravelry, and I quite like the solid colour in the lace and everything, with maybe just a very subtle contrast colour for some of the colour work. So 2 yarns that I've picked out for this is I've got this monster cone of Holst Garn in this lovely eggplant colour. So I'm thinking about that. A lot of people have used, I think there was about 36 people that have used the Holst Garn. And I've knit another top out of this whole skein, and it's when you're knitting with it, I'm not going to lie, it looks dreadful. And then all of a sudden you wash it and it becomes amazing. I will show you on my next podcast the garment that I knit out of it. And I was okay with it and everything. And then when I took it out, I washed it in the machine, on the gentle machine, took it out, and I could not believe the difference in it. So there is a lot. This yarn is cheap, and the reason that it is cheap is because it's not washed. It's still got a lot of the manufacturing oils and sheep oils and stuff still in the yarn. So it really doesn't come into its full potential until after it's been washed. So, and it definitely has a real sheepy smell about it. If you like that, it smells nice, which I do. But it does have a definite sheepy smell about it. So that's one of the contenders for the Zweig. And another one that I've got is I've got a sweater's quantity of this one, which is Cola Girl Collective. I've got a few of her yarns. She is on Etsy, and she does a lovely job dyeing yarn. So this one's an interesting one because it's a tweedy with the dongles and stuff in it, and it's got like a nice variegated colour palette there, from sort of pale reds through to the deep burgundies. So that's another one that's on my hit list for potentially being knit up. And that came with a nice little stitch marker, little teddy bear holding some flowers. Yeah, there he is. Anyway, so that's that. So if you're interested in joining Lindsay and I on the Zweig knit along, I go on Ravelry all the time looking at patterns, looking at what people have knit. I don't know how to set up a group or anything like that, or a knit along, so maybe we would do it via Instagram, or unless Lindsay's switched on to that sort of thing, I might leave that for her to do, but maybe we'll just do it in the comments or on Instagram. Maybe we'll fine-tune that a bit as it gets closer. So that's up and coming. And that's all I've got on the agenda for my knitting life. As I say, I do have quite a few side projects going on in terms of orders and stuff like that. And just before I started podcasting, I had a lady that's ordered a bit of yarn, custom yarn, so I'll have to dye that up too. Alright, done. Now, my Etsy seller this week, which I'm very happy about. My Etsy seller is an artist, and she is Sharyn Bursic Art on Etsy, and I have purchased this lovely little, I've taken it out of the plastic so it won't have too much glare, but I've purchased this lovely little illustration that she's done. I absolutely love the colours in this dress just here. So pretty. This is a print of her original. She's got a sale going on at the moment, but I will link her store in my show notes. I love the whimsical look. I like the look on the girls' faces. This piece is actually called Women Supporting Women, which I'm all about, but I just think so lovely. She's got another one in her shop which I'm extremely tempted to buy, and it's called Lady Guarding Her Heart, the other one that I quite like. But as I said, like, you can choose what size you want. I chose this size. I'm going to frame it and put it on my wall here. And I think I paid $12 for this. So it's really pretty, and Sharyn does a lovely job, and I recommend you going and checking out her store. At the moment she's got 38 sales in her Etsy store. but I just think her colour choices for her artwork are really stunning. So I'm very happy with that purchase. So that's that. And a couple of other things that I've purchased. Lulu Yarn, who you know I love their self-striping yarn. They had an advent calendar that they put up last week. So I've never done an advent calendar before. I've never bought one. But I have purchased their advent calendar, and I'm excited because the full skein at Christmas time is a 12 colour striping sock, so that is going to be a lot of fun. So I have purchased that, and a couple of other things that I've purchased. I'll just bring them over here. I went to Spotlight the other day to pick up a few bits, and I found they have a 40% off at the moment, and so I bought this little art strip, and it's a little book, and it's got a whole heap of pages in it, and they're just for sketching and doing whimsical little art designs and things. And as I've mentioned before, I push it out of focus, out of shot there, but I've got a trolley that I use to walk around the house, and I'm going to put this on the bottom of my trolley with a couple of pencils, so that when I'm sitting in my new outdoor area that my husband has just about finished creating, and I'll put a picture of how fabulous that looks here, I can do some little sketches as the mood takes me. So I picked that up. Now the other thing that I saw on Instagram, that for my watercolour painting, you know I love the Prisma paints, the little tins, and they bought out a new one. So this is the new one. I saw somebody painting with it on Instagram, and I thought, oh, I've got to track that down. And it's all the blues, and you can see on the side there showing you all the colours that are in this palette. So I think that I'll have to create something. The lady that was doing the demonstration actually was doing an ocean picture, and it looked really, really nice. So I don't know if I can open that quickly and show you what they look like. No, my fingers aren't quite good enough for that. Oh, get the scissors onto it. Let's have a look at this. They're usually all wrapped up when you first get them, when you first buy them. Before you muck it all up like I do with mine, this is what they look like inside. I think they're quite good value for money because there's a lot of paint in there. I think I paid $38 each for these, but they will last you for years. And I have a lot of the palettes, but if you're starting out, you really only need one. You don't need all of these colours. I probably don't need them either, but that's beside the point. So I bought that one, and while I was on the site I noticed that they had this one as well, so I grabbed this one too. And this one has got all the autumnal colours in it for autumn. So they're the colours that are in this palette. If you were going to buy one of these palettes, this is probably going to be more versatile in terms of colours that you can create. But I think that the colours that I particularly like in that are the last three colours there. That sort of mustardy colour, that purple, and then that sort of dusty orange colour, that one there. I like those colours there, so I'll be excited to, maybe I'll incorporate those palettes in my watercolour that I do this week. Now the other purchase that I have made is from Inspiration Crafts on Etsy, and I will tell you that this probably took 8 to 10 weeks to arrive because it's come from Berlin. And I have ordered some other bits from her because every so often she does free international post, and her prices are quite good to start with. If you've got to pay for postage, not so much, but if you can get on board when she's doing a free international post, that's well worth it. But what I've picked up from her there is this kit, which I'm going to start doing after I finish my cross stitch, which I'm really hoping to have that pretty much finished by the next episode. Now that I've said it, let's see if it happens. I'll have to hold myself to that. But I've bought this bead embroidery. So it's all butterflies and that's all beading work. But the picture is already on the fabric. And I thought that looked really, really pretty. Keys to the Spring, it's called. And I don't know if any of you know about the embroidery catalogue that you can get from the Fox collection, but I've been getting that for years and years and years. They have this as well, but after doing a bit of research, I think I paid like $20 for this or $25 for this, and the Fox collection have it for like nearly $47 to $50 or something like that. So that's why I ended up buying it from the Etsy store. But she's also put this little freebie in, which was attached at the front there as a thank you. So that's a nice little thing. So that came with it. And the other thing that I bought to use with it is, I might just quickly take this out of the plastic so that it doesn't have the glare. Sorry about that noise. It'll be worth it. Okay, so I bought this little thing, and it's to put your beads in, and it's got like a magnetic cover, so you can take that off, put all your little beads in it and keep them all separate and safe. This smells nice, like timber, like a woodwork, but it's all etched inside there. I don't know if you can actually see the detail in that, and I think this was like $12 or something, and I think it's really pretty. Of course, a little bird, because I love little birds. But yeah, and with the cover to go over it when you're not using it to keep everything safe. Yeah, I haven't seen those in Australia, so I was interested in that, but I'm happy with that purchase. And yeah, I think that's all my purchases this week. Yep, this fortnight. So I think that's about it, everyone. That's about it. As I said, we have been a little bit busy here. We've been living in this house now for approximately 10 years. So the house itself is probably about 25 years old. So at the beginning of the year, I said to my husband, this is the year of repair and replace. So we've just gradually been doing things. I've had awnings replaced and, you know, just bits and pieces all over the place, just getting things done. And in the last week, I've had a few things done. I've had some electrical work done. So they're coming back again this week, and I'm having 2 downlights put in the craft room here. So I'm hoping that that will help with my lighting. My husband's study is, well, the bathroom's next door to me here, and then his study. So he's getting some new downlights. He's going to get a new ceiling fan. I've had downlights put in the kitchen, so that's all been happening. And tomorrow I've got the gardening guys coming, and we've got solar panels on the roof, so they're coming to cut some of the trees down. I've got a massive mango tree. Coming to trim that. Good time of year to do it at the moment. So they're going to be here at 7 o'clock in the morning. I know the dogs will go crazy, but it'll be worth it. And the solar panels will work a bit better once we sort of bring the height of those trees down. So that's happening. and I'm having all the carpet ripped up in our bedroom. I like the carpet on the floor, but with the dogs and everything, it's just impractical. So we're having the lino floorboards put down. So I had the guy here yesterday giving us some quotes and stuff, and they are going to be here in 2 weeks to do that. So I feel like there's quite a bit going on, which is a lot more than I usually have going on. And my mum's been in hospital, so she's back home now, and I've hooked her up to watching the podcast. So if you've watched this, Mum, hi! I think she will have watched it, and I'm glad that you're home. Yeah, so got a few things going on, and but other than that, life is chugging along, and I have not taken any more falls, so that's the good news. And I'm looking forward to getting on to some of these crafty projects, and I hope you've got some crafty projects on the go. If you have, and you're doing something different, like I don't know, maybe you're doing some trompe l'oeil, or you're doing some doll making or bear making or something like that, one of these days I'll show you. But this cabinet here on the top there, many years ago I was involved in making mohair bears and dolls and things, and I've got them all creepily sitting on the top shelf there, so I'll show you that one of these days. But yeah, let me know down in the down box down below, what are you working on other than knitting? Although we all love our knitting, I love my knitting too, but what do you do any other craft? That's what I would like to know. And are you interested in all the different crafty things that I show you, or would you prefer me to just stick to the knitting? Let me know. All right, guys, have a good one. I will see you in a fortnight. And one thing I did forget, I didn't say my thank you at the beginning. Tragic. Well, I'm going to say it now. And my thank you is to Charmaine. Charmaine is probably what I would classify as my only friend in real life. She is actually my carer. She comes twice a week. She's here for 3 hours each time. We love to have a gas bag, and she has recently taken 2 weeks off, and I missed her a lot, and I'm glad she's back. So thank you, Charmaine, for everything that you do for me. I really appreciate it. So on that note, I will catch everybody in 2 weeks. Bye.